Good evening and welcome to KiniNews. Muafakat Nasional, that pact between Umno and PAS, it's still alive, at least according to PAS President Abdul Hadi Awang. This is despite criticism against it from both parties. PAS President Abdul Hadi Awang said his complaint about Umno breaching the Muafakat Nasional Charter was not directed at the party as a whole, but at certain individuals. However, Hadi refused to disclose who in Umno he had issues with. He said he was not accusing anyone and was just shooting in the dark.
Saya tak kata UMNO, saya kata ada orang-orang yang lain lah. Bukan UMNO. Bukan atas nama parti UMNO. Majlis tertinggi dia bukan seorang, majlis tertinggi dia ramai. UMNO ni lah secara kolektif. Bukan parti yang bergerak di atas individu. Ya.
Hadi also stressed that the Muafakat Charter is still alive. He added that PAS will await UMNO's course of action next year. Previously, it was reported that UMNO will deliberate on the Muafakat Nasional Pact with PAS at their annual General Assembly. The party is expected to hold its annual General Assembly for 2021 in January next year. We've often heard criticisms and remarks from parties in the ruling government against each other, but it seems that the situation is the same for the opposition as well. DAP Sungai Pelak Assembly person Ronnie Liu hopes that the war of words between Damansara MP Tony Phua and former Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad will open the eyes of DAP members who remained, quote, blindly devoted to Mahathir. He said after seeing how Mahathir is whacking Tony publicly, they may now realize that what he had been saying about Mahathir was true all along and they could start to think differently. Liu explained that they could start keeping a distance from Mahathir and there might be no more selfies. Liu said that when Pakatan Harapan was in power, he had spoken out against Mahathir, who he felt was squandering the coalition's goodwill by ignoring promised reforms and playing up intra-party rivalries to his benefit. Liu added that he was given 3 show-cause letters for criticizing Mahathir or speaking out against mistakes and blunders made by Harapan as a whole. He said he would have been removed if it wasn't for the support he got from the DAP grassroots. Liu also speculated that some of his party colleagues had, quote, been blinded and dazzled by their position. He explained that when the government fell, they could not bring themselves to admit that they had been duped and their own prime minister had sold the coalition out. Over the past few days, a war of words had erupted between Mahathir and Phua over excerpts from Mahathir's new book. The excerpts talked about an arrogant aide who behaved like a minister during his tenure as political secretary to former finance minister Lim Guan Eng. The government is losing credibility among the people after repeatedly breaking its own COVID-19 standard operating procedures, and this is according to Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin.
Dan apabila rakyat melihat kerajaan sendiri yang melanggar peraturan yang kerajaan sendiri yang buat, maka kredibiliti kerajaan itu terhakis.
This was the response from Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin regarding the breach of COVID-19 standard operating procedures at Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob's 100-day report card event on December 9th. At a program on RTM yesterday, he said the government had taken a hit over the issue, as credibility is an important factor in managing the pandemic. She added that the people may start to neglect the SOPs if the government continues to ignore them as well. Khairi, who had also attended the event, said everything appeared right on paper, but there was no security and lack of SOP enforcers. He said the organizers, which is the Shared Prosperity Delivery Unit, or SAPADU, had failed to ensure that the SOPs were followed. He added that the government should learn from this and hire reputable organizations to handle events like this in the future. The 4-day event held at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Center was packed, with those attending mostly ignoring physical distancing measures meant to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Pictures of former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak going golfing during his trip in Singapore have spread on social media. Now, Najib has hit back at critics asking if he was expected to spend 24 hours a day with his grandchild. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak has responded to questions on his whereabouts during his recent trip to Singapore. In a Facebook post, Najib asked if he was expected to spend 24 hours a day for 6 days with his grandchild during his trip. This came after photographs of him posing beside a Rolls-Royce and golfing in Singapore circulated on social media. Najib explained that the Rolls-Royce belonged to a Singaporean billionaire who had discussed investments with him. According to Najib, the billionaire Sam Goi Seng Hui was a fan of Malaysia's economic policy when Najib served as Prime Minister from 2009 to 2018. He said Goy asked for his views on development in Malaysia and the economic direction because he wanted to invest more in Malaysia. Najib then questioned if it was wrong to use his personal time to give his views to foreign investors who want to invest in Malaysia, even though he was no longer the Prime Minister or even a minister. On the 8th of December, the Court of Appeal had granted Najib temporary access to his passport on the grounds that he wanted to see his newborn grandchild in Singapore. The court is holding on to Najib's passport due to his various pending criminal cases. After the break, we have an update for you on Najib's 1MDB trial and his wife Rosmah Mansor's graft trial. But before we get to that, here's a message from our sponsor.
Shellfish, red meat, and beer. If you love indulging in these foods, you may end up with high uric acid level in your blood. These foods consist high level of purine, a substance that will eventually break down into uric acid and be excreted through our urine. It is recommended that the amount of dietary purines should be kept between 600 to 1000 milligrams per day. Having too much uric acid in your blood can cause attacks of gout. It can also cause kidney stones and blockage in the kidney. The crystallization of the excessive uric acid in your blood can be eased by reducing purine-rich food to only 100 to 150 milligrams daily, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consuming urinary alkalinizer like Ural. It consists of sodium bicarbonate, citric acid, and sodium citrate that increases the urinary pH and solubility of uric acid to prevent crystallization. Best of all, it's lemon-flavored and sugar-free. Ural, effective urinary alkalinizer. Neutralize your uric acid problem now.
Welcome back. Najib Abdul Razak was not allowed to enter court today due to his Maisa Jatra status. As a result, his 1MDB trial before the Kuala Lumpur High Court has been vacated to tomorrow. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak's 2.28 billion ringgit 1MDB corruption trial before the Kuala Lumpur High Court has been vacated to tomorrow. This was after he was turned away from court due to his yellow Maisa Jatra status. During proceedings this morning, his lawyer, Hariharan Tara Singh, informed the court that Najib and his lead defense counsel Muhammad Shafi Abdullah were unable to enter court because of their Maisa Jatra status. Both Najib and Shafi have a yellow status on the app, which means that they had been flagged as casual contacts to a possible COVID-19 positive person or a person under surveillance. According to his lawyer, their status was in blue and the two had been allowed to enter court, but they found their status turned to yellow after they were instructed to answer several questions under the status section in the app. He added that they were both in the lobby outside the courtroom. Proceedings then stood down for an hour to allow the COVID-19 RTK test to be carried out. When it resumed around 12 p.m., Hariharan told the court that the results were negative. However, Najib and Shafi's Maisa Jatra yellow status remained unchanged. Justice Colin Lawrence Sekera then allowed proceedings to adjourn and resume tomorrow morning. The Kuala Lumpur Courts complex generally only allows those with low risk or blue statuses to enter the premises. Earlier today, Najib's wife Rosmah Mansor had her solar hybrid energy project corruption trial vacated again due to her Maisa Jatra status. Rosmah previously missed 2 trial dates due to her orange Maisa Jatra status on the 8th and 10th of December respectively. It's not just Najib. Rosmah Mansor was also unable to attend her trial again at the Kuala Lumpur High Court this morning due to her close contact status on the Maisa Jatra app. The Kuala Lumpur High Court may consider conducting Rosmah Mansor's solar hybrid energy project corruption trial through hybrid online proceedings on the 23rd of December. This came after Rosmah was unable to attend her trial again this morning due to her close contact status on the Maisa Jatra app. Rosmah was spotted in her car outside the Kuala Lumpur court complex today, but was not allowed to enter the court premises as she is still a close contact. During the proceedings this morning, Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan said that the court will consider the hybrid online trial proposal from Deputy Public Prosecutor Gopal Sri Ram. The judge said that the situation cannot carry on like this with the risk of Rosmah still being unable to attend hearings in person due to her Maisa Jatra status. He said he would inform both parties in advance if it can be held online. However, if her status reverts to blue before the next proceedings, then everything will be fine. Proceedings on Rosmah's trial are set to resume on December 23 and 24. She previously missed 2 trial dates due to her orange Maisa Jatra status on December 8 and 10 respectively. If a person does not test positive for COVID-19, it usually takes 10 days for their yellow casual contact or orange close contact status to revert back to blue in the application. There have been some complaints recently that the fines against companies that breach COVID-19 SOPs were too low, but that could change soon, with fines being raised to 1 million ringgit for companies, factories, and government agencies. Companies, factories, and government agencies that violate standard operating procedures set to curb the spread of COVID-19 could be compounded up to 1 million ringgit soon, from a maximum of 50,000 ringgit now. This is if amendments to the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1998 or Act 342 are passed. According to Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, the increase in the compound was among the amendments that would be tabled in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. He said the compound would be higher for repeated offences based on assessments. Khairi said that for individuals, the maximum amount of compound will remain at 10,000 ringgit. But based on the current situation involving home quarantine implementation and so on, amendments will also involve matters such as the installation of surveillance devices. Amendments will also include the delegation of power to allow the enforcement to be carried out by not only officers from the Health Ministry, but also by local authorities. However, Khairi stressed that it will involve clear guidelines so that there would be no issue of abuse of power. He said the move was for, quote, future-proofing to effect behavioral changes among the communities and to refine the implementation of infectious diseases control to be more effective and efficient. He said the Health Ministry is always committed and takes a firm stand to ensure the people's safety by implementing efforts to control the COVID-19 pandemic, adding that the public should continue to comply with the SOPs set. Well, that's a wrap for this evening. For more stories, go to KiniTV.com. Don't forget that you can follow us on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter to get the latest news headlines. If you'd like to support the independent media, please do consider a subscription to MalaysiaKini.com. When you're heading out, please don't forget your mask. When you can, try to stay home. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay safe, Malaysia.
Everyone wants to see these scenes bigger. That's why we've got bigger TVs for everyone to enjoy them bigger. Watch colors come to life on a large screen. LG NanoCell.